Halo Infinite has had kind of a rough time of it, to be honest. Originally scheduled to come out in 2020 and developed by 343 Industries, it was delayed right after July's gameplay showcase and the subsequent... Now, what's the right word? Oh yeah! Utter mockery of the graphics was unleashed onto the internet. Poor Craig. Due to delays because of coronavirus necessitating working from home for the developers, Halo Infinite didn't release in time to be the Xbox Series X launch exclusive it was planned to be, but it is still coming out on Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. Have no fear. Now Halo Infinite is due to come out in fall 2021 to give developers plenty of time to bring it up to spec. But ever since the gameplay demo, apart from a blog post, a handful of screenshots and some interviews, 343 have remained kind of quiet about Master Chief's next adventure. No new trailers, no new gameplay, nothing. So, while we wait for more news to emerge and an updated glimpse at the gameplay hopefully, I thought you good folks could do with an update on what we know about Halo Infinite so far, including its free-to-play multiplayer, the campaign, and what 343 Industries are doing behind the scenes in response to the criticism of the first gameplay demo. So, let's get started. Behind the scenes, the campaign sounds like it's finished, and if not, it's very almost there, as creative director Joseph Staten said in an early September blog post that he's played the entire Halo Infinite campaign. Twice. In his first week on the job, too. In his own words, Staten said he was stunned by what the team had done. Infinite is by far the most expansive and vertical Halo world ever. Citing wonder and freedom as being an important part of the Halo experience, these two concepts are what Staten is claiming, and doubtless hoping, will encourage players to explore and enjoy the semi-open world. But at the time I'm recording this video, we haven't got any further glimpses of the gameplay and aforementioned open world since July 2020. Nevertheless, Staten's impressions were positive, to say the least. In the same blog post, he mentioned that he felt the classic Halo 30 seconds of fun, and in addition he cited the mobility and tactical prowess when he was praising what he sat down with. Master Chief's grappling hook, which I'll come back to later, doubtless helps with the mobility aspect, but I sure as hell wouldn't mind a closer look at the tactical choices, which I'm assuming covers the abilities that we briefly saw in last year's gameplay demo. Hands-on aside, we already know a little bit about Halo Infinite's single-player campaign and the free-to-play multiplayer. For a start, the free-to-play multiplayer runs at 120 FPS on the Xbox Series X, while the single-player campaign runs at 60 FPS, with 2-player split-screen co-op or 4-player online co-op for the single-player campaign. That's all according to Jerry Hook, head of design at 343 Industries. There's some speculation that single-player and multiplayer might launch separately, but nothing has been confirmed yet. More speculation abounds about how the free-to-play multiplayer is going to be monetized. Like whether there'll be a Battle Pass-like subscription in lieu of needing Xbox Live Gold to play online, but again, nothing has been officially announced. Yet. One thing I can say for sure, as 343 have asserted this too, is that there aren't going to be any loot boxes in Halo Infinite. So now that's been dealt with, let's move on to the wider details about the campaign and multiplayer. All in all, the Halo ring that Halo Infinite takes place on is several times larger than the last two Halo games, Halo 4 and Halo 5 Guardians, combined. And it's a good job it's that big, as Halo Infinite is going to be around for a good long while. Chris Lee, the former studio head at 343 Industries, said Infinite is going to be the platform for Halo for the next, get this, decade. Neither 343 nor Microsoft have clarified on what that exactly means for Halo Infinite, or for future games in the series. Like, does that mean it's going to be updated with new single-player story campaigns, with additional missions, NPCs and locations chucked in for good measure? Or will it go through a series of updates that usher in new chapters in lieu of standalone Halo games? I have no idea, and we're probably going to remain in the dark about this for a while yet. So feel free to speculate with me in the comments. One thing we can be sure about is that Halo Infinite is a continuation of the Master Chief story and saga from Halo 4 and Halo 5. Master Chief doesn't sound like he's going to be the only focus of Infinite though, as in addition to continuing his saga, there's also going to be, quote-unquote, new stories. So, like in Halo Reach, you could be controlling characters apart from the big man Master Chief himself. Remember a little while ago when I mentioned Joseph Statham praised Halo Infinite's verticality? If that even is a word? Well, that verticality probably has a lot to thank the grappling hook for, as Master Chief now has one, and it's called a grapple shot, which is supposed to aid him in his exploration of the semi-open world. Other tidbits we know, or suspect, include the suspicion that the Arbiter might be coming back, as his voice actor Keith David sent this non-committal tweet in response to people asking if the Arbiter would be making a return in Halo Infinite. Sounds deliciously vague. It's not a yes, but it's not a no either. Even though we're left in suspense about the return of the Arbiter, we do know who the big bads are in Halo Infinite. Called the Banished, they're a group associated with the Covenant who broke away from the Prophets, hence the title/potential name for a metal band, the Banished. You might remember them from such games as Halo Wars 2. The BBEG, or Big Bad Evil Guy, that you'll have your sights set on is called Escharum. He's big, he's evil, but he does have a beautiful smile. Look, I don't think we can go much further without talking about 343 Industries' response to the gameplay demo of July 2020. Neil Harrison, Director of Art Management at 343 Industries, who's working on Halo Infinite, said in a blog post that the primary goal for the campaign demo was showing Halo Infinite gameplay for the first time. He goes on to admit that while the gameplay was in line with what 343 wanted to show off, the art and visuals weren't up to scratch, even in a work-in-progress state. Annie Shastri, development manager on Halo Infinite, also adds to this, saying that back in July, the graphics team was focusing on achieving high resolution and performance in the demo, which is why global illumination and dynamic time of day to GPU-driven rendering and variable rate shading didn't look as they should have, because their attention was focused elsewhere. A huge amount of the elements that had been criticised were already being worked on behind the scenes by the art department at the time of the demo going live, with Harrison specifically mentioning indirect lighting, material response, foliage and tree rendering, clouds, level of detail transitions, and character fidelity. Seriously, try memorising all of that. Rounding up the graphics, Halo Infinite isn't being altered to the extent that it's going to be dripping with gritty realism. It's sticking firmly to its roots in terms of appearance. During an interview with GameSpot, Phil Spencer, VP of Gaming at Microsoft, said that he thinks, and I quote, "There were certain people that were looking for Halo Infinite to be this lifelike, gritty, real-world looking game when we first showed it. And for those of us that have been around Halo for a long time, that's never been Halo. It's always had a certain palette and a certain look. It's less about how realistic can I make a game, and more about the fun and engagement that games have, and that's where I think the Infinite is going to shine." So there you have it. If you're expecting a gritty remake of Halo, it's not what you're going to get. There's still going to be the bright-ish colours and saturated effects that Halo's famous for, but if you take a look at some of the coatings I'll be talking about later, they certainly look a bit grittier than we're used to. Oh, and Craig is being worked on too. He didn't have any blending shapes or animation applied at the time of the demo going live, hence his rather flat look. Poor Craig. Don't worry though, Craig, you'll be looking stunning in the future, because there's been further work done on the material fidelity and more variety added for brute faces, which means that they're adding hairdos and beards, which is something that we didn't get to see in the July gameplay demo. to customization now, which has always been a crucial part of the Halo experience. You've always been able to customize your Spartan, whether that's making it hot pink like a certain someone, or with the classic camo green, but there have been significant changes as to how Halo Infinite is going to tackle customization. Not in the least because Halo Infinite's multiplayer is free to play and, well, 343 have to monetize it somehow, and that's where premium cosmetics comes in. With the multiplayer being free to play, Christopher Bloom, the lead progression designer, clarified that there will be premium cosmetics, but players who don't want to play can still get customization unlocks by playing the campaign, doing challenges, in special events, through legacy rewards, and in the progression system. So, what can you customize about your Spartan? Well, for a start, you'll be using the coating system, which changes the colour, wear and tear, pattern and material on a region-by-region basis on your Spartan, weapon parts, vehicles, armour, and fuel barrels, of all things. More customization comes at a price though, as 343 have binned the primary and secondary colour scheme of previous Halo games. This was kind of a classic defining feature of Halo, so getting rid of it says quite a lot. 343 says it was done so that there's potential for greater detail and variation when it comes to colour customization. Mind you, there is a bit of hesitation about the coating system in the Halo community. Here's why. John Janizek clarified that the coating system's colours and materials are designed and built into each specific coating, meaning it's not yet certain whether you can change the colour of the coatings while keeping the materials, wear and tear, patterns, etc. It kind of sounds like the coating system is similar to how Destiny's shaders work, where when you unlock a shader, you can't really change anything about it, meaning you might be hunting for a while before you find a coating you really like. So, yeah. With primary and secondary colours gone, it means that instead of customising your Spartan based on the colours you want, you have to search for a random coating that hopefully overlaps with the kind of design you want in the first place. So, again, yeah. As for the future of Halo after Infinite, well, there is no after Infinite, for now at least. Let me explain. In a Polygon interview, Phil Spencer said that there's been a ton of learning in the studio about what it means to actually have a collection, the kind of totality of the Halo lore and stories and experience inside of one Halo world, one Halo UI and platform, mentioning that he feels like, in a way, the Halo games almost compete with each other. Annualized franchises that spend a lot of energy actually trying to move the customers who are already playing your game to a new version of your game are a gaming habit of the past, with Spencer going on to mention that respecting where customers are playing games is part of Infinite's messaging and the structure of the game itself. What that means is that Halo Infinite is going to be the platform for future Halo games for the next decade. Chris Lee has left 343 Industries now, but back when he was project director, he told IGN that Halo Infinite is the start of our platform for the future. 343 Industries wants Infinite to grow over time, versus going to those numbered titles and having all that segmentation that it had before. It's really about creating Halo Infinite as the start of the next 10 years for Halo, and then building that as we go with our fans and community. So, there you have it. Better get used to Halo Infinite, as it's going to be sticking around for a good long while. 343 Industries haven't confirmed whether it's going to be a live service game, but at the moment it definitely has a lot in common with that model. And, because that's all I have to say about it, because surprise surprise there's no more information, have some videos of pugs snuffling along, which were recorded by 343 Industries to be the sounds for their grunts. So cute. And that's everything we know about Halo Infinite. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and also don't forget to like and subscribe because we have a new video out every single day, so there's always something to watch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go listen to the music from Halo 3 again and cry into a pillow, so I'll see you next time.